Hello and welcome back to the Founders Log. I'm your host, Calvin Wineland with the American Butcher's Jerky. Today is April 13th, and this is going to be the 7th iteration, or really 6.5, of our Founders Log, where we go in depth to the analysis behind American Butcher's Jerky, talk a little bit about the thought process and how I've handled my development of the jerky business here, and kind of giving you guys the insight. Now, I say this is episode 6.5 because I want to focus specifically on a very narrow topic, and I don't think it's going to give the same gratitude as, say, a full iteration of the Founders Log. But I feel like this is a very important topic to talk about. So that is why I'm incorporating it today, because I just finished it and all the information is really raw in my brain. And I think that I can give the best input and value towards those who are listening and following along, and can specifically see this and be able to relate it towards their business. I've already titled it of this Founders Log, but today we're going to be talking about emails and how we can manage a successful communication between the self of the customer and the business. Now, to start that off, anytime you're going to start a business that you've been using Shopify or any type of online e-commerce platform, the very important, like the number one thing you're going to be doing is signing up for an email. Now, it is very important to sometimes decide how you're going to want to handle this email adventure and handle it early. Now, I've seen a lot of people who, there's nothing wrong with this, but a lot of people will, for example, I'll just use myself as a kind of case study here. And when I first started American Butcher's Jerky, I came across the decision that I was going to go in two different directions. I was either going to go americanbutchersjerky@gmail.com, or I was going to make myself unique and more professional, really, is what it came down to. I was going to be calvin@americanbutchersjerky.com. And you guys can actually shoot me an email with that exact email, and it'll go directly to me. But that decision was really how I was going to determine to run this business, was, do I want to be at gmail.com, or do I want to be at American Butcher's Jerky? And that is where it really came down to, because when you look at a lot of professional businesses, they're always at Nike.com or at BearPerformanceNutrition.com or at their company name. And that is something that you can do down the road, definitely. But I thought that since I was starting from scratch, I was starting in the very beginning of my business, it was crucial to make sure that I had this already set up. And so now we're going to dive into setting this up, getting it established, and figuring out where we can go to move forward. Now, I host our website, or I created the domain of American Butcher's Jerky through domain.com. There's a lot of other platforms out there. There's GoDaddy.com, cheapnames.com, I think, is another one. Gator is another URL, but I went through domain.com. I found my domain. It was relatively pretty inexpensive, and actually Shopify, if you want to make it all in one house, they do domain hosting through their own service. Budgets were tight. I didn't want to spend a lot of unnecessary money where I didn't think that it was necessary. So I went to domain.com, bought my AmericanButchersJerky.com. I want to say it was like $9.99 a month. It's something really cheap. But when you go ahead and do that, they offer the ability to buy an email extension with that. It was, hands down, looking back, one of the best decisions that I made regarding signing up for things, setting up an email, was I was very impressed and glad that I did it so early on, because one, it allows me to just make all of my emails related to the business going directly towards my business email. I didn't have to set up a Gmail and later transfer it over. It was already all in one spot. And I think that was just helped tremendous when I was looking back at it now. So I set up calvin@americanbutchers.com. I thought with my name, it was important to utilize and compare the two and make sure that they worked hand in hand. And then next thing that I did was I signed up everything with that email. So all of my Shopify, all of my packaging, all of my orders and in processing all goes to my email. And it's Calvin at American Butchers, like I said. And that way, down the road, if I'm ever adding team members to the team, if I'm ever thinking of expanding and adding a larger workforce, we can already create that set of dream team where it's, for example, Mark at AmericanButchersJerky.com or Samantha or all these other, each individual team member will be able to get their information. And so in order to do that, I had two options. I could have used Outlook or G Suite. So Outlook is another email provider, and G Suite is obviously the Google Suite. And when I was looking at the different options, cheapest for his buck, just hands down, was Gmail, the G Suite, because the Outlook, you can pay the more expensive price and you get the functions of all of Outlook and you get all their perks. So they come up with a lot of other benefits, but I really think the integration and just how big Google was and their initial investment was a lot cheaper. So I went with a G Suite, set up it through them. I decided how I wanted my exact domain to be and was really fortunate enough to go through that and set up Gmail G Suite. And that, I want to say, is like $6.99 a month. It's not bad. It's like $72 for the year. When you look at how much they're actually doing for you, it's pretty good. And so that leaves us talking all about emails. The final thing that I want to just address is it's called aliases or email aliases. And for a small business, this can be really crucial and really beneficial. An email alias is basically a mask of what email you're trying to use, and you can mask it so that it is something else so that people email that mask, and in return, that mask then forwards it to your personal email or wherever you want to correlate it. And so an example of this is currently right now, as I'm developing the website, it is important to have support at da-da-da-da-da or info at da-da-da or welcome at da-da-da. And so what I did was I went through today and set up 4 different email aliases. One is welcome at AmericanButchers.com, support at AmericanButchers.com, info at AmericanButchers.com, and help at AmericanButchers.com. What those do is it is this alias that is of my Calvin at AmericanButchers.com. But if a customer wants to specifically get an email from me and I don't want all of my emails to come from Calvin, what I've done is I've incorporated welcome at AmericanButchers.com. So you as the customer or those who are welcoming, whenever an email is sent, it'll come from that welcome. It'll come from that specific alias. Or if you want to get some assistance on something or you have a question, what you can do is you can email info at AmericanButchers.com or you can email support at AmericanButchers.com, jerky. And that is just really cool because I didn't have to pay for anything. Those are all done through the backworks, and I used Google's support center to create this, and I really cannot stress that they were incredible walking me through everything. They helped me break it down, setting up all the back work of the DNS servers and really getting everything on the back of the software side. And I just can't stress that if you're ever wanting to do that and set up an alias for your email, by far just use the customer service. They walk you through everything and it makes life so much easier. He even got to the point where I have now separated my Calvin at AmericanButchersJerky.com. So we have to remember that all of those aliases get emailed to that specific email. It might not show to you as the customer that that's who you're emailing, but to me as the recipient of those emails, it is all going to one hat. So what Alan is the gentleman who assisted me, what we've done is we set up these filters and these logs that basically separate the emails when they come in. So if you were to specifically email me for welcome, it would get filtered into a specific folder that is highlighted just for welcome or info or support, etc. And that is an amazing process because now I have all these emails getting forwarded to me, but they are all separated and categorized in their own respective spots, which is awesome. And it helps so much down the road. And I just cannot stress the importance of how well Alan did for me, really just trying to make my life that much easier. And it doesn't cost anything extra. Since it's all going to the same inbox and I don't have to have a specific inbox for every single email, it makes my life so much easier as I'm just trying to look back and setting this all up and getting it all figured out. But that is just pretty much everything I wanted to highlight on the email process, setting up email, setting up forwards and aliases and getting it all figured out, because now I effectively have 5 different emails all working for one email. And down the road, if we ever get a larger team, I can actually pass on some of these aliases to other team members. So if Mark works for American Butchers and he wants to become the support team, what I can do is just easily drop that alias towards Mark, and I don't have to worry about anything because now it's taken to him, it's routed right to him, and life is easy. But I hope that helped. Like I said, if you guys have any questions or anything I can help with, I'm going to do my best. But this is the Founders Log, and I will continue to keep you updated as I'm learning more and more about this starting your own business and really just trying to get it off the ground. It's really quite a interesting process. But that is April 13th with the 6.5 or 7th iteration of our Founders Log. Thank you, and you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.